How do you do, ladies and gentlemen? I've done so many things to stay alive, from running a property company in central London to sweeping roads and driving a minicab. I've been a goat herd in the mountains of Morocco, a lawyer, a university lecturer, a property developer, writer, musician, gambler, bum. I even used to perform in a pop band and run a record company and a recording studio. However, the one recurring matter has always been that of writing. Some of us are simply built that way. For us, the fact of writing is almost an autonomic activity. I find it hard to do anything in the morning if I haven't sat down and written something first. It doesn't matter what it is. A letter to the newspaper, a short story, a whole heap of ideas that simply drift in and out of the mind. An imaginary conversation, a character who's just popped into my mind and wants to say something. Good grief, if things are really bad, even a shopping list will do. By the time I was 15, I was performing my audio collages. I wrote a series of them in my mid to late teens, which included a series of variations on Paganini's Caprices. I'll spend some time on my experiments with music at a later date. I also spent rather a lot of my school days skiving off to Spain and lived for some time in Barcelona in the dark days of the Franco regime. I was concerned that the Civil War was a taboo subject. I could get no one to discuss that time, and I wrote a rather long poem about the subject. The English text is included in my book Poet in Spain. Rather foolishly, I tried to get the Spanish version published in Spain, only to end up being visited and threatened by the secret police. The following day, I did something even more foolish. I took a stool out of the hotel room, sat in the middle of the Ramblas, and read the poem in the original Spanish. As I finished each page, I ostentatiously set fire to it. I was not quite 16 at the time. My first 2 books of poems were self-published, and I started reading my material at folk clubs and pubs up and down the UK, and had a regular spot at the Load of Hay in Bath. I then moved on to reading during the interval of rock concerts, and did some touring with a band called The Movies. In the meantime, I had been travelling a lot and gave readings of my works all over the place, even in Cairo, where I was living for a time, and at various odd spots along the Nile, including a couple of readings way up in the mountains in Addis Ababa. These works are included in my book entitled The Nile Trilogy, except that the number of poems ended up rather more than 3. But that's a story for another day. Instead, let's go all the way back to that day on the Ramblas in Barcelona and read you that poem, but this time in the English version. It comes up in the next video. I'll put a link to it in the information below. Hope you enjoyed.